Greetings. Welcome back from break. Hopefully, everyone had a good Christmas and a nice, refreshing break. I'm going to try something a little different with the Bible study this week. Since I wasn't able to get on Teams last Tuesday, I thought I would do it on video. It'll be two parts. The first part will be the Old Testament reading for the fourth Sunday of Ordinary Time, and part two will be the New Testament reading, the Gospel. So the Old Testament reading for this Sunday, the fourth Sunday in Ordinary Time, is from Deuteronomy, chapter 18, verses 15 through 20. It says, Moses spoke to all the people, saying, A prophet like me will the Lord your God raise up for you from among your own kin. To him you shall listen. This is exactly what you requested of the Lord your God at Horeb, on the day of the assembly, when you said, Let us not again hear the voice of the Lord our God, nor see this great fire any more, lest we die. And the Lord said to me, This was well said. I will raise up for them a prophet like you from among their kin, and will put my words into his mouth. He shall tell them all that I command him. Whoever will not listen to my words, which he speaks in my name, I myself will make him answer for it. But if a prophet presumes to speak in my name, an oracle that I have not commanded him to speak, or speaks in the name of other gods, he shall die. So this is an interesting reading from the Old Testament. We have Moses is speaking, and the first point I think is important is that God is not going to come to them anymore directly so they can see and hear his own voice. That was frightening for them, and they ask him not to. He agrees. He says, this is well said. He said he's going to send a prophet. The prophet will be like Moses. So why doesn't God come to them directly and just speak so they can hear his voice? Well, they will hear his voice through the prophets. But the reason he doesn't speak it, with a literal voice is because God is perfect. God is perfection itself. And when we're with him in his presence, we immediately recognize how far we fall short of perfection. It's too much for us. There was an Orthodox priest who said, thank God he doesn't come to us, in that way that we can see and hear him. It would be too much for us. We wouldn't be able to withstand it. Thank God he gives us time. He gives us time to grow closer to him through prayer, through the sacraments, reconciliation, Eucharist, building up that relationship so that eventually, when we die and we go through purgatory, we will be perfected enough where we can meet him face to face in that way. So God gives us that time to prepare. And so sending these prophets is an act of mercy. But there are false prophets. There are prophets who will lead them astray. False prophets who don't speak in God's name, right? And prophets who claim to speak for other gods, right? These are very self-serving. That's why God says the true prophets will be like Moses. In fact, since the time of Moses, they had basically a three-pronged test. How do we know it's a true prophet speaking to us? Well, number one, a true prophet speaks the truth. Number two, a true prophet follows God's law. And he's not going to ignore God's law if he's truly from God. And number three, that prophet must be like Moses. And this reading kind of starts to give us a hint as to what all that means. A prophet intercedes for the people with God, makes atonement for sins. A prophet, a true prophet, brings messages from God to the people and from the people to God. A true prophet interprets the covenant with the signs of the times, within the signs of the times. He guides the people. He also advises kings. Things like declaring when a war has started and when a war has ended, and pointing out what God's will is. And so, when he talks about a prophet like Moses, the point that they're making here is that a prophet like Moses is not like other kinds of false prophets that they had seen in their world. When I read the commentary on this, it kind of harkened back to, this reading is verses 15 through 20, but verses 10 and 11 explain what we mean by a false prophet, what we mean by somebody who's not like Moses. Okay, the false prophets, it says right here, verses 10 and 11, they practice divination, or a soothsayer, or augur, or sorcerer, or who casts spells, consults ghosts and spirits, or seeks oracles from the dead. That's not like Moses. We can add in some of our modern stuff, psychics, mediums, tarot card readers. Those are false prophets. They're leading you astray. All of that is self-serving, what they're doing. It's a way of attaining knowledge that's not for us to have, and that knowledge to give us a power so we can control things. That's why people seek out the soothsayers and sorcerers and mediums and psychics and things. That stuff does not come from God. That's a direct assault on God. It's a violation of the first commandment. You shall have no false gods before me. So that's what they're trying to say. Moses isn't like that. Moses does the will of God. He doesn't act on his own behalf or for some self-serving reason, nor should we. Trying to go around God, to access knowledge, like from a psychic or something, that's offensive to God. That's a direct affront to him. That's not what we should be following. Okay? So that's the main point of this reading, that a prophet like Moses does the will of God, does what God wants, not what he wants. And what he speaks is for what is truly good. He speaks the truth, and for what is truly good, not for what is self-serving. Okay? So all of those kind of sorcerers and mediums and psychics, those are false prophets. They're not serving God because they're trying to get around God and trying to access knowledge that's not for us to have. And that's a common theme, even in Genesis. Adam and Eve eat of the fruit of the tree of knowledge of good and evil. It's knowledge that is meant to give them a power so they can decide for themselves what is good and evil. It's not for us to have. Our job is to place our total trust in God, the real God, and to follow faithfully where he is leading, his true prophets. And we'll see in the New Testament reading that Jesus is the Messiah. Jesus is the one we need to follow. So stay tuned for part 2.